Is it possible, and then we can get to is it even proper, but is it possible to have a net zero energy, carbon emission world, or whatever that even is? What is she talking about? Is it possible?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible if everyone dies, basically, or if we all live at the level that primitive people lived, because, net zero was the default way of living in the pre-fossil fuel era. And that era was characterized by very low life expectancy, very low income, and the Earth being able to sustain a very low population. What fossil fuels did was they provided a uniquely low-cost, reliable, versatile, and global scale form of energy that enabled billions of people to use machines to improve their lives. And without machines, human life really sucks for almost everyone, except if you have slaves and servants, and that's not proper to have. So the thing is, fossil fuels are still a uniquely cost-effective source of energy. We're not just using them because we're randomly addicted. We're using them because nothing right now still can come close to providing low-cost, reliable energy for billions of people. And so if you're not allowed to use the best form of energy, that means billions of people suffer and die prematurely. And this is in a world where 3 billion people still use less electricity than a typical American refrigerator. So we have to recognize fossil fuels are incredibly vital. We're using them for a reason. And when people just say, oh yeah, we can transition to this other thing, notice that they're always using force. Notice that they're not competing on a free market. They're trying to ban fossil fuels and then claiming they have a replacement. And as we'll talk about, this is exactly the mentality that put Europe in its predicament. Banning things before having a replacement on the empty promise that unreliable solar and wind could do the job.
So they'll say that it needs a kickstart. It just needs a little bump. It needs a little incentive is all to make it happen. Would it even be possible to have our current fossil fuel use replaced by solar?
No, I mean, the most plausible thing, which I'm a big advocate of long term, is nuclear. Because what nuclear is it's a naturally stored, concentrated, and abundant source of energy, much like fossil fuels. Fossil fuels have those three attributes. Nuclear is harder technically to harness, but it's this amazingly stored, concentrated, abundant thing. Solar and wind, by contrast, they're not naturally stored. They're naturally intermittent flows of energy. And so what that means is you can't control them, which means you need 100% backup, essentially, to be able to turn these unreliable flows into reliable electricity. We need reliable electricity in particular. Like, electricity needs to be controlled very, very precisely. So what you see with solar is solar today is not a replacement for fossil fuels. It is a cost-adding parasite on fossil fuels, as well as some nuclear and some hydro. So anyone who makes claims about solar in the future needs to acknowledge that today, solar is a cost-adding failure. And people aren't doing that. They're pretending that it's a success, and they're blaming problems caused by solar on fossil fuels. So it just shows how disingenuous this movement is. It's not a movement interested in energy. It's a movement interested in banning energy and then coming up with these hollow justifications for it.
Hey, thanks for watching that whole clip right there. If you enjoyed that, that's one of like 50 brilliant points that were made in our special. We had some amazing guests, and you can watch the whole thing and be so armed with everyone around you and all the lies around you. You'll be more armed than anyone you know, I guarantee it. You can check that out at thefirsttv.com/support.